Right. So whilst Keir Starmer's been busy pretending everything's absolutely brilliant and the country's never been better, Nigel Farage has just pulled off what can only be described as a political equivalent of a smash-and-grab robbery across Britain. And I'm not talking about 1 or 2 seats here. We're talking about 4 council by-election victories in a single night. 4, including their very first win in Scotland. Yes, you heard that correctly. Scotland. The place where even mentioning Brexit gets you chased out of town with pitchforks. Reform UK just waltzed in and nicked a seat from under the noses of both Labour and the SNP. Absolutely bonkers. Quick favour, if you're finding this interesting, smash that subscribe button. Over 94% of viewers haven't yet. It's completely free, takes literally 1 second, and honestly means a world to us. Cheers if you did. Right, back to the chaos. Now, let me paint you a picture of what happened in West Lothian, because this is genuinely mind-boggling stuff. The Whitburn and Blackburn ward, traditionally a Labour stronghold, has just been absolutely demolished by Reform UK. They secured 32% of the vote in a seat they didn't even bother contesting back in 2022. That's right, they went from not existing in this constituency to winning it outright in the span of roughly 2 years. Meanwhile, Labour, who actually held this ward previously, plummeted to a pitiful 17.1%. They shed more than 20 points of support. 20 points. That's not a swing. That's a complete collapse. It's like watching someone's political career get flushed down the toilet in real time, except it's an entire party. And the Scottish National Party? Oh, they didn't escape unscathed either. They dropped 10.7 points and finished second with 28%. Now, normally coming second isn't the end of the world, but when you're the SNP in Scotland and you're getting beaten by a party led by Nigel Farage, a man who's about as popular north of the border as a Rangers fan at a Celtic match, you know something's gone catastrophically wrong. Nigel himself called it a fantastic victory in a seat they weren't expected to win, which is a polite way of saying absolutely nobody, so this coming and everyone else is probably in a state of complete panic right now. But here's where it gets even more entertaining, because this wasn't just a 1-0 fluke. Oh no, Reform was just getting warmed up. Down in Lincolnshire, in a place called Belmont near Grantham, they snatch another seat, this time from local independents. And get this, they beat the Tories by just 0.3%. That's closer than a photo finish at the Grand National. Reform secured 33.4% from a complete standing start, considering they didn't even field a candidate last time round in 2023. Imagine not bothering to show up to a race, then coming back the next year and winning by a nose. That's essentially what happened here, and you can bet the Conservatives are absolutely seething about it. Now, if you think that's impressive, hold on to your tea because Reform wasn't finished yet. In the neighbouring ward of Aveland, also in South Kesteven, they delivered an even more commanding performance. They took 41% of the vote, gaining a whopping 26.5 points, while simultaneously stealing a seat from the Tories with a swing of 3.8%. The Conservatives actually put up a decent fight here, securing 39.5% and gaining 19 points themselves. But it wasn't enough. The previous Liberal Democrat incumbents didn't even bother standing this time, which tells you everything you need to know about how the Lib Dems feel about their chances in modern British politics. They've essentially given up and gone home for a nice cup of cocoa. But wait, there's more, because Reform wasn't content with just embarrassing Labour in Scotland and the Tories in Lincolnshire. They wanted a hat-trick, and they got it in spectacular fashion up in Darlington. In the Red Hall and Lingfield ward, Reform absolutely stormed a victory against Labour in what can only be described as a complete annihilation. They secured 37.7% from literally nowhere, whilst Labour crashed by an almost identical 37.1 points. Let that sink in for a moment. Labour lost almost exactly the same amount of support that Reform gained. It's like a perfect mathematical transfer of votes, as if the electorate collectively decided they had quite enough of Starmer's Labour and fancied giving this Farage chap a proper go instead. And the Conservatives? Oh, they came a distant second with 17.3%, but they also fell by a sizable 22.5 points in support. So really, nobody won here except Reform. It was a complete bloodbath for the traditional parties. The so-called Red Wall, which Boris Johnson supposedly demolished back in 2019, is now getting demolished all over again, except this time it's not the Tories doing the demolishing. It's Reform UK, and they're using a wrecking ball the size of Big Ben. Now, before you start thinking this is turning into the Nigel Farage fan club broadcast, let me throw you a curveball. There was actually some rare good news for Keir Starmer's Conservative Party. In the nearby ward of Eaglescliffe West in Stockton-on-Tees Council, the Tories actually held their seat. Shocking, I know. They secured an impressive 60.9% of the vote, gaining 4.4 points compared to last time the seat was contested in 2023. So credit where credit's due. The Conservatives can still win elections when the stars align and the political gods smile upon them. However, and this is a massive however, Reform still gained 17.6 points there, securing 24% of the vote. They were well behind, sure, but they are growing everywhere, even in Tory strongholds. And Labour? Oh, Labour crashed yet again in the red wall, losing 21.7 points of support in just 2 years. 2 years. That's faster than most people lose interest in their New Year's resolutions. It's genuinely impressive how quickly Labour is managing to alienate voters who presumably put them into power believing things would get better. So let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture here, because these aren't just random by-election results that'll be forgotten by next week. These represent something far more significant, something that should be setting off alarm bells in Labour headquarters and Conservative central office alike. According to Reform UK Chairman Dr. David Bull, since the May elections earlier this year, his party has won more by-elections than the Tories, Labour, and the Greens combined. Combined! Let me repeat that for the people at the back. Reform UK has won more by-elections than the 3 other major parties put together. Dr. Bull pointed out that this proves Reform isn't just polling well nationally, they're actually converting those poll numbers into real, tangible results. He boldly declared that there's no doubt Britain wants reform, and based on these results, it's becoming increasingly difficult to argue with him. Now, whether you love Farage or think he's a political equivalent of Marmite, you cannot deny the momentum his party has right now. They are winning in Scotland. They are winning in the Red Wall. They are winning in traditional Tory heartlands. They are basically winning everywhere except perhaps in the London and university towns, which, to be fair, they were never going to win anyway. What makes this particularly fascinating from a political analysis perspective is the sheer speed of Reform's rise. This isn't a slow, gradual climb up the political ladder. This is a rocket ship trajectory that's catching everyone off guard. Traditional political wisdom suggests it takes decades to build a credible third party that can compete with the established giants. The Liberal Democrats have been trying to do it for generations with mixed success. Yet Reform UK, a party that's been in its current form for less time than most people keep their mobile phones, is now regularly beating both Labour and the Conservatives in local elections across the country. The question everyone's asking now is whether this momentum can be sustained, or whether it's just a flash in the pan driven by general dissatisfaction with the main parties. The optimistic view for Labour and the Conservatives is that by-elections are notoriously unpredictable and often don't reflect what happens in general elections when the stakes are higher and turnout is significantly better. The pessimistic view, if you're Starmer or Badenoch, is that these results represent a genuine seismic shift in British politics, and Reform is about to become a permanent fixture that splits the vote and makes it virtually impossible for either traditional party to win outright majorities anymore. What's particularly damaging for Labour is that they are losing support in areas they absolutely cannot afford to lose. The Red Wall was supposed to be their path back to power after the Johnson years. They won those seats back in the last general election, and now they are hemorrhaging support at an alarming rate. If this trend continues, Starmer is going to find himself in an impossible position where he is simultaneously too left-wing for traditional working-class voters and too establishment for younger progressive voters. It's a political tightrope that very few leaders successfully navigate. As for the Conservatives, well, they're in their own special kind of trouble. They are being squeezed from both sides, losing moderate voters to the Liberal Democrats while simultaneously bleeding right-wing supporters to Reform. Keir Starmer has the unenviable task of trying to unite a party that's fundamentally divided on almost every major issue, from immigration to economic policy to the role of government itself. And all the while, Farage has sat there grinning like the cat that got the cream, watching both major parties tear themselves apart whilst his own party grows stronger by the day. The really interesting thing is what this means for the next general election, because if Reform can maintain this trajectory and continue converting local by-election wins into parliamentary seats, we could be looking at a hung parliament scenario where neither Labour nor the Conservatives can govern without support from smaller parties. That would fundamentally change British politics in ways we haven't seen since a coalition government, except potentially more chaotic because Reform UK isn't exactly known for playing nicely with others. So there you have it. 4 by-election victories in one night for Reform UK, including the historic first win in Scotland. Labour's crashing in their former heartlands. The Conservatives are clinging on where they can but losing ground everywhere else. And Nigel Farage is presumably somewhere celebrating with a pint, looking absolutely delighted with himself. Whether you think this is brilliant news or the beginning of the apocalypse probably depends entirely on your political persuasion. But either way, you cannot deny it's absolutely fascinating to watch unfold. British politics just got a whole lot more interesting, and frankly, I'm here for every chaotic minute of it. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you in the next one.